just going to ask you to slow down here, buddy, because you're breaking the speed limit. I'm here with Shams, and we're going to be doing a part 2 mock test in Mill Hill. Okay, so can you see the number plate of that black vehicle all the way down there?
Yeah, it's Lima Papa 17, Michael Tango Julia.
Do you have your driving license with you? Is that you?
Yeah.
Is that you without a beard?
Without the beard. Without
you
the
look
hair.
incredibly different without your beard. You want to see the picture on my green badge? It's awful.
Yeah.
I'm not showing it to anybody because it's really bad. If you could just open up the bonnet for me, please.
Yeah, sure.
Could you identify where the engine coolant would go, and how would you know that there's enough?
Engine coolant will go to this bottle, and it got a maximum and minimum levels on the sides.
Tell me how you would check that your power assisted steering was working properly.
If you switch on the car, turn the power steering to the left and right. If it is soft, then it's okay. If it is hard, then it got a problem. It doesn't.
So it's heavy. Okay,
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
heavy.
And tell me how you check that your brake lights were working properly.
If you have someone in your car, just press the brake and they will see how it's work. Otherwise, you can park it somewhere to reflect that you can see that if your brake light is working.
Okay, brilliant. So before we start, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's good.
How much driving experience have you had?
Since '96, I'm in this country.
You've done all your driving here?
Yeah, I done some driving back home as well, but I passed my test in 1996 here.
What's made you decide that you want to become a driving instructor?
I just like teaching, you know, to have communication with the students. And
you have some experience, I believe, already, don't you, teaching-wise?
I did teach my family, my wife, my children.
How do you feel about your driving?
My driving is, everybody's saying that I'm a little bit slow driver.
Okay. Is driving too slow a problem?
Too slow is very problem. Yeah, too slow. In the 70, I go like 65. I don't cross 68.
You're saying that you would rather be just below the speed limit then?
Yeah.
Do you know much about a part 2 mock test?
I did watch your videos, couple of videos and other videos, you know.
So you know what to expect?
Yeah.
At all times, I like you to follow the road ahead unless I tell you to turn left or turn right, unless road signs indicate otherwise. If I need you to turn, I'll tell you in good time. And I should actually say here, we're taking 2 reversing maneuvers, possibly an emergency stop. If you're not sure where you're going at any time, you can ask. Do you know what you need in order to pass this? How many faults are you allowed?
I allowed 6 faults, I think.
You can get 6. And remember, eco driving is now part of this as well. Oh, if you are interested in doing a mock test, whether you're a learner driver or a PDI and you'd like to do it on the channel, then I'll put my Instagram down here. Follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, and then we can talk about it. And like always, like, comment, and subscribe because it really does push the channel, pushes the video out to a wider audience. I appreciate all the support. Thank you very much. Okay, when we see you next, we'll be starting the test. So when it's safe to do so, drive on.
Sitting a part 2 mock is a fundamental part of your training. It's an incredibly stressful test. And it's important to understand where, if anywhere, you're going wrong. Shams does well here though, does a good all-round check and checks his blind spot, his right blind spot, twice.
And then if you just take this next road on the right here for me, please.
It's a good clean start. He's checking both mirrors and signalling in good time, and then positions well for this junction in the anticipation that there could be an oncoming vehicle. Shams does well here. He's entered a 30 zone, but he doesn't immediately pick up speed. And I can see why with these parked vehicles and these junctions makes it a little bit precarious. And then on the approach to this blind corner up ahead, he again keeps his speed moderate and positions well.
And then at the end of the road, turn right for me, please.
And again, he demonstrates good clean mirror work and good timing of signal. Shams is moving into a 20 zone and he makes a small mistake after this emerge. He then takes his time at this junction, doesn't rush, and takes the gap when it comes. The speed limit in this new road is 20 because there is a school just here and he picks up his speed a little bit too high. He's only doing 21, 22 miles an hour, which he could get away with. But when he sees the 30 sign, he starts to pick up speed before he's crossed it. The margin at times can be quite fine, so this is a driver fault for use of speed. However, his driving is smooth, and as he approaches a slight bottleneck up ahead because of parked cars, he deals with it well.
At the roundabout, turn right, please.
Shams can never be accused of not checking his mirrors. He again does that well, signals and positions correctly in the right-hand lane. He then makes a concerted effort to go round the central markings, which I quite like here because it's very feasible to do.
And then if you could just take the next road on the left, it's just beyond the pedestrian crossing.
On the left, yeah?
On the left.
There's no problem to confirm that at all. And after we take this turn, Shams has to do his first reverse manoeuvre, the Bay Park exercise.
And then, it's reasonably busy here today. I'd like you to find somewhere to do a reverse Bay Park into any bay you like, to the right or the left, finishing off in between the lines, please.
Okay.
Shams does well here. He doesn't use the reference point method that you see often taught to pupils, but chooses to swing out and reverse in, which is absolutely fine. He performs all-round effective observation and gets the car in one go.
The lines.
You done?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Whenever you are ready, drive on.
The car in front blocks our move off, so we're going to speed this up. We make our way to the exit of the car park. Shams is turning left. He then correctly waits patiently for a gap, and I quite like this about his driving. He doesn't rush or jump into situations that are unnecessary. He does the right thing here.
At the roundabout, follow the road ahead.
And then his good anticipation continues as he reduces speed because visibility is poor at this roundabout.
And then take the next road on the right where that silver white car has just come out.
And his good, clean mirror work continues. As he pulls into the right filter lane box, there's a Mercedes on the right-hand side that sees a gap that's not there and pushes out. There's no major harm done, but it's definitely not what you should be doing. Needless to say, if you did that on your driving test, or a part 2, you'd fail. And then shortly we pull up and start the independent drive.
So we're now going to start your independent drive.
I think I just said that.
Drive on when you're ready, please.
In this next sequence, this culminates in a serious fault. Shams does a good all-round check and then drives on. And again checks his right blind spot. Twice. The speed limit currently is 30 miles an hour, but we do move into a 20 zone, which Shams notices. But only a short distance up the road, he doesn't notice when it moves back to a 30. And after he passes this parked lorry, he doesn't pick up his speed. However, he's not interfering with anybody, so it's not a major issue, yet.
After 200 yards, turn left.
He now has a vehicle behind him, so he's in danger now of picking up a driver fault. However, this left turn pretty much saved him.
Turn left.
Having missed that sign, Shams has now no new indicator as to what the speed limit is in this new road, but he's not initially followed in behind, so again he gets away with it. The road is also quite tight, and with this oncoming bus, he's got every right to reduce speed.
After 200 yards, go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
But after he enters this new road, he's got nowhere to hide.
Go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
This roundabout he does fluidly and in good control, but a vehicle turns into the junction behind him. And very quickly, because it's driving the normal speed for this road, is right up behind him. And it's not long before the driver gets impatient. Shams makes a concerted effort to go round the central markings of this roundabout, and the vehicle behind takes this opportunity to overtake. This is a serious fault for progress appropriate speed. For the rest of this road, he continues to drive at approximately 20 miles an hour, but he's already got the serious fault, so let's move on.
At the end of the road, turn right, then go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
Shams now has a bus at a bus stop. He checks both mirrors and moves into a good position to move round. There's another bus in front, but this is not an issue. He checks both mirrors and moves back in. Another good demonstration of mirror work.
Then go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
He then approaches this pedestrian crossing at a good speed, allows the pedestrian to cross, then checks all mirrors before moving on. He then deals with this junction absolutely fine. His mirror work at this next roundabout is slightly out of sync.
Go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
But he does check both mirrors, so in this case it's just fine. Up ahead, he's approaching a pedestrian crossing where he sees pedestrians walking on the pavement. He doesn't check mirrors for slowdown, and he does reduce speed. It's only very minor, but there is a car behind us. In this case, I'm just going to put it as advisory. But before reducing your speed, always check your mirrors.
By the way, I make a lot of notes, so just ignore
After
what I'm doing
300
now.
yards, go straight on, then turn around when possible.
Now ignore that, because that's ridiculous. At the traffic lights, turn left.
Just a little correction, because the sat-nav gives a very strange route direction. On this test, we're now about to start our first bit of dual carriageway driving.
Go straight on, then turn around when possible.
Again, just ignore that, obviously.
Shams picks up speed well here, but he does rev the engine quite considerably. And if you don't drive economically, you'll start to pick up eco-safe driving faults. For now, I'm going to put this as not noteworthy, but later on it gets a bit worse. He also only manages to get into gear 4 for this length of road. He's doing about 45 miles an hour, so in this case I'm going to say he gets away with it, but this car does have 6 gears. And he is slightly saved by the fact that he's approaching a red traffic light. But after the traffic light, it continues. He now picks up a driver fault for following distance. He's just a little bit too close to this taxi in front. Following distance in normal conditions should be a minimum of 2 seconds, and what I simply do is count it about 3 times. If he's still within that distance, he's likely to pick up a fault. The problem is also compounded by the fact that he's being followed quite closely by the van behind. Shams decides he wants to get past, so he does start to think about moving around. I guess he's also trying to make progress, but at the moment the traffic is reasonably heavy. But the moment he gets a gap behind, he moves out to the middle lane. and then picks up his speed. And again, the highest gear he uses is gear 4. This is a driver fault for eco-safe driving. He decides he wants to maintain the middle lane, but that's because he's approaching and overtaking this truck in the left-hand lane. And then once he judges he's got a safe gap between him and the vehicle in front, he moves back to the left. This is nicely done. He does marginally start moving before his signal comes on, but in this case I'm going to put it as not noteworthy.
After 400 yards, cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
Shams is correctly positioned in the left-hand lane for this roundabout. He then checks both mirrors and signals to exit. At the next roundabout he's turning right third exit, and he holds gear 1 throughout and really revs the engine quite high.
After 400 yards, go right on the roundabout and take the third exit.
At this roundabout you can turn right from one of 3 lanes, and he nicely picks the furthest most to the left. As I said before, he pretty much does this entire roundabout in gear 1. To begin with, it's not a problem. It's just the finish, which he revs the engine up to 5,000 revs. Which is not far off the maximum for this car. It's just completely unnecessary, so this is a driver fault for eco-safe driving. And then again proceeds to rev the engine back up to 5,000 revs in gear 2. And in this 50 mile an hour speed limit, the highest gear he gets to, again, is gear 4. In the world we're living in, with ever-increasing costs for fuel and the climate change, it's important that you're passing on good knowledge to your pupils. So eco-safe driving is no longer advisory. Sham's good balance of progress drive continues as he refuses to just sit in the left-hand lane, moving to the middle lane for overtake. And once he's gone past the black car, he correctly moves back to the left-hand lane, normal driving position. Shams now demonstrates good planning on the sat-nav. He doesn't wait for it to tell him to turn right, but he moves nice and early to the middle lane.
After 800 yards, go right on the roundabout and take the 4th exit.
Of no fault of his own, he's kind of forced into a tight gap into the right-hand lane, but he does it as safely as he possibly can, allowing this vehicle to pull away from him as much as possible while putting his signal on to inform the vehicle behind he needs to move across. I think this he did as best as he possibly could. He then checks both mirrors and signals well in good time for this roundabout.
Go right on the roundabout and take the 4th exit.
Shams then maintains a good lane discipline throughout this roundabout and then checks both mirrors and signals to exit.
Exit.
The speed limit in this new road is 40 miles an hour, and he moderates his speed appropriately. Once again, he holds gear 2 to about 4,000 revs. Again, not necessary. A little further up the road, I ask him some show-me-tell-me questions. Before we get to that, another vehicle misjudges the timing of his speed and pulls out in front of him. Shams does deal with it safely and there's no harm or major harm done, but again, if you did that on your driving test,
It's not really what he should be doing, is it?
this time Shams does see this upcoming 30-mile-an-hour speed limit zone and adjusts his speed accordingly.
And just when it's safe to do so, could you put your rear demister on for me, please? Thank you very much.
And of course, Shams has no problems here at all.
And also, when it's safe to do so, if you could open a side window for me, please. That'll do. Thank you very much.
And then a little further up the road, we're about to perform the emergency stop exercise.
After 300 yards, you have reached your destination.
When that finishes, I'll be directing you as normal. Okay?
You have reached your destination.
Okay. I'd like you to find somewhere just to pull up on the left again in a safe place for me, please.
He's a little bit hesitant to find somewhere to pull up, but when he finally does find somewhere, there are two little posts sticking out of the ground, and we get quite close. He judges it well, but my line of sight, it was a bit too close for comfort.
That was squeaky bum time there for a second. Those two posts. They're quite close. Okay, so we're now going to do the emergency stop exercise. I'd like you to bring the car to an immediate and abrupt halt under full control. My signal will be stop.
Okay.
I'll be making sure it's nice and safe behind us. Okay, so I won't ask you to do this if there's somebody behind us. So you obviously don't stop until I tell you, okay? I think it's clear behind us. Drive on when you're ready.
As a learner driver, you generally do the emergency stop in a 30 zone, but it's quite plausible as a PDI to execute it at a much higher speed, and this is what we have to do today. Up ahead we have national speed limit. And today we're hitting almost 50 miles an hour. Shams brakes exactly as he should do.
And stop. Thank you very much. I won't ask you to do that again. Drive on when you're ready.
As a safety feature, my car puts on the hazard warning lights. This slightly confuses Shams, but it's not really anything to do with him. It eventually switches off. He does all-round observation, and he drives on.
My first time I did that hard brake in my life.
We were travelling some speed as well, weren't we?
Huh?
We were travelling at speed.
Shams now has to deal with what I call the country lane. It's national speed limit, and he's got to navigate these bends at the appropriate speed. And overall, he does very well. There are a couple of bends which I feel he kind of approaches a little bit too fast, but overall, he does okay here. And for the first time on this drive, he actually hits gear 5. He then drops to gear 4 for the bend, which is probably not appropriate. Gear 3 probably would have been better. But it's a bonus that he hits gear 5. It's this upcoming bend that he just takes a touch too fast. But overall, it's not a bad progress drive at all.
left for me, please.
Then after this roundabout, he again revs the engine incredibly high. And this time, he actually breaks 5,000 revs. But again, he picks up his speed well.
Okay, so I'm going to call this a roundabout. At the roundabout, take the first exit.
Shams is now about to tackle the national speed limit dual carriageway section of this Part 2 test. And once again, he's high revving in first gear. And then breaks 5,000 revs in second. I have never given anyone a serious fault for eco-safe driving, but Shams is getting real close. This does mean though, however, he picks up speed well, and we're getting up to speed limit pretty quickly. But apart from that one episode on that country lane where he hit 5th gear, Shams again holds gear 4, and we do the entirety of this dual carriageway section at national speed limit in gear 4. This is now an escalation of eco-safe driving faults, and this is a serious fault, the first time ever for eco-safe driving. Shams gets slightly caught out by a junction up ahead. He could have changed position nice and early, but doesn't, and has to reduce speed. This could go against you as a driver fault for awareness and planning, but in this case, I'm going to put this as not noteworthy. He then notices that he's catching the vehicle in front, so he does the right thing by looking to change lanes to the middle lane in order to get past these slightly slower moving vehicles in the left-hand lane. However, once he's gone past these two vehicles, he doesn't move back to the left. I decide not to mark this, as I know that there's a slip road coming up, and actually this shows good planning and awareness. And he also responds well to a speed limit change that's just coming up. And reduces speed nicely to 50 miles an hour. He's now justified in holding the middle lane as he's passing this white vehicle in the left-hand lane. But again, as he passes this vehicle, he should be moving back to the left. But he doesn't, and he holds his ground until I give him the route direction at the next roundabout. This wouldn't be looked favourably on a test, a Part 2 test or any test. Middle lane hogging is a big problem. This is a serious fault for normal driving position.
At the roundabout, you're going to follow the road ahead.
As I said before, Shams now moves nicely back to the left-hand lane, which is a good position for this roundabout. Shams manages this roundabout well. He's patient and waits for a gap, and then follows with good lane discipline throughout the roundabout. But once he's through to the other side, he picks up his speed and seems to forget that he's in a 50 zone. From time to time, this junction can be quite busy, and it is today, but Shams is patient and waits for the right gap. The traffic is reasonably built up, and Shams decides he wants to pick up speed. And again, he's doing almost 40 miles an hour in second gear. but he's already got the serious fault for eco-safe driving, so this now won't be marked. He's now travelling at 50 miles an hour, but he starts to push up to 60. In order to protect him, I have to intervene.
I'm just going to ask you to slow down here, buddy, because you're breaking the speed limit. Okay. Just doing that to protect you, okay?
Needless to say, that's a serious fault for use of speed. He moves back to the middle lane, but again, he doesn't move back to the left.
Okay, so at the roundabout, we're going to follow the road ahead to the second exit.
But at this next roundabout, he needs the middle lane to do that, so remaining where he is, in this instance, is just fine. Shams keeps good lane discipline throughout this roundabout, keeping to the left-hand lane. And then checks mirrors and signals in good time for the exit.
Okay, so at the roundabout, turn left for me, please.
He then checks mirrors and signals in good time and positions well for this mini roundabout. But at this next junction, he approaches just a little bit too fast and steers a bit wide.
And then if you could just take the next road on the left, which I think is just about where that cyclist is.
The problem is further compounded by the fact that there are emerging vehicles. He remains in control, so it's not a serious fault, but he does swing over quite close to these vehicles. Shams is now about to do the parallel park exercise.
And then if you could just pull up on the left just before that grey car. Okay, so we're going to perform the reverse parallel park on that car there.
Okay.
I like to pull up next to it and then reverse the car back in, finishing off within 2 car lengths, keeping reasonably close to and parallel to the curb. In this instance, treat the dropped curb as if it's a regular curb.
Okay.
That means you can stop next to it, but you mustn't go up it.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Shams ultimately does okay here. I was a bit harsh and gave him a driver fault for observation, and I think it's because he's a bit late in checking his shoulder as the car swings out. He does check it, it's just a bit late. He does the right thing by waiting for this oncoming car. He doesn't initially put it into reverse, which is a bit risky because if a vehicle comes up behind him, that could cause problems. I'd always recommend getting it into reverse before you do anything else. So he has just checked all around the car. The car swings out, and now he checks his shoulder. This is a little bit harsh, but really he should be teaching his pupils that before the car swings out, check the shoulder. He then finishes it off within the parameters given, in a good distance from the curb and from the vehicle in front.
Okay, yeah. Done. Okay, drive on when you're ready.
We are now just a couple of junctions away from the end of test.
And then at the roundabout, turn right, second roundabout left. Next road on the left, please.
And to the very end, Shams keeps it as clean as he possibly can.
How was that?
I think it was okay, but that speeding was a bit... I did speeding, you asked me. And when I was doing a parallel parking, I just moved a little bit while the pedestrian was on the thing.
So do you think that was a pass or a fail?
I think if that speeding is a serious, then it's fail.
You're doing 56, and your speed was increasing.
Yeah.
You'd moved out into the right-hand lane. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not a pass.
Yeah.
Okay, before I go into some of this here, there were huge swathes of that test where you were doing incredibly well. You were driving to a good standard, clean. And I think on the main, you have an incredibly good foundation. The reverse parallel park, you mentioned it. I did give you one for observation, but driver fault, not a serious fault. When the car's swinging out, you didn't look over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You did after you'd already swung out. I just feel, and also your right shoulder check for me, you sort of do this. You know, I kind of want to see a proper body turn. You're going to be teaching this to people, right? Okay. And if you're doing a right shoulder check like that, you know, yeah, a good look around. Make sure, you know, when you're checking blind spots, what are we looking for?
Blind spot.
Yeah, but where? Where specifically is the blind spot?
The area which we couldn't see in the mirror.
Yeah, that's it. All right, you need to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
But it was more the swing out, and you didn't do it until quite late. Right at the end here, as you were turning left into the junction, your steering was, you approached that junction just before the parallel park, was a little bit wide on that. I gave you one for steering on that. It was just a bit fast and a bit wide. We had cars there.
I did it quickly.
A little bit quick and a little bit wide.
Wide, yeah.
A little bit quick and a little bit wide. Okay. You have 4 serious.
4 serious, yeah? Okay.
But some of these, in fact, I think all of them are really easy to fix. You were driving in a 30 zone. You had a vehicle behind you that beeped you and then overtook you on the mini roundabout.
Yeah.
You were doing 20 miles an hour. You did 20 miles an hour that entire road.
Oh, I thought that was a 20.
No.
Because I didn't see any. I went to the 20 zone. I was looking for the sign. And I didn't see any 30 zone sign.
We had entered the 30 zone. You missed the sign. You are going to spend time going out, making sure that you do not miss one sign.
Yeah.
And clearly you missed another one because you did 56 in a 50.
Yeah.
Okay, I have never given somebody a serious fault for eco-driving, eco-safe driving. But you today, right, on the apex corner, you were doing almost 28 miles an hour in gear 1. All the dual carriageways that you've driven, the highest gear you got into was gear 4. Gear 2, you were doing 34, 35. You are revving up to 5,500 revs when you are accelerating. Like, you've really gone into this, like, I get it, like, making progress, but you've flipped it and you're now not driving economically at all and doing sort of 70, almost 70 miles an hour in gear 4. The car was crying out. It's even telling you gear 5. Are you doing a test in an auto or manual?
I think I'll do it on auto. I have auto.
In which case, none of that would be a problem, would it?
Yeah, in auto. I have auto.
But if you ever teach manual,
yeah.
How many gears does this car got?
6.
So what are they for? What is 5 and 6 for? Just for show. The last serious fault is for normal driving position on the dual carriageway. You've moved out into the middle lane. You moved out into the middle lane when you saw before the 50 zone. So when we went from national speed limit into a 50, you saw that we were in a 50 at that point. I don't know at what point you thought it went back up to national speed limit, because it didn't. It went from 50 from there on down. Okay. And you stayed in the middle lane. You only moved back to the left when I said at the roundabout, we're going to follow the road ahead to the second exit. Now, you were doing almost the speed limit. You were not catching the vehicles, and yet you remained in the middle lane.
No, I thought I will overtake the lorry, but I couldn't.
How could you overtake it when you were doing 49, 50 miles an hour and they were doing the same speed, and they were about 150 meters ahead?
Yeah.
I am going to put the AC on. Because this camera won't survive. And you got one for following distance, and it was on the way up. We were heading towards Mill Hill Circus. There was a black taxi in front of us, and we got a bit close. You wanted to go out round, but you just stayed within distance. You just stayed.
There was the middle lane was so busy to change the lane.
When
then I should drop more down.
If it's busy, is it necessary for you to move out?
Yeah, no.
If we are close to the vehicle in front, what's happening to risk?
Could crash.
So while you're looking for that safe gap, if you can't get out, what do we do with that gap?
Drop the speed more.
I also gave you another use of speed, and it was right at the beginning of the test. This is 20 zone here.
Yeah.
You turned right into the 20 zone. You took the car up to 21 miles an hour. 21, it's okay, it's fine. Then it hit 22. And I'm thinking 22, we're in at 20. And you saw the 30 zone coming, yes? And then before you crossed it, you went to 23, 24. So when I add all of that together, 21, not a problem. 22, starting to get a little bit too fast. Then you accelerate before the 30 sign. I'm giving you a driver fault for use of speed.
So we should speed up after you see the 30?
Where's the
after
sign?
The 30?
See the sign or go past it?
No, just to see the sign. Yeah, I saw the sign.
Where does the zone start?
The zone start when I done the right.
If you see the sign right down the end of the road, should you start accelerating now? Overall, I thought there's a lot of good stuff in here, and we do need to create a little action plan so that you can go away and practice. Thank you so much for allowing this to come onto YouTube. I think the benefit to other people is incredibly high. Please give him some love in the comments. He's been an absolute trooper, and also wish him luck. I hope that you've got some value out of this. I really hope you've got some value out of this too, because it's quite important for you. But I hope you got some value out of this. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe if you like more content, and I will see you in the next one. Get Wheel out.